Hello and happy St Valentine's Day to everyone out there in HCPT world. Today's episode is all about love, and especially people who have found love through HCPT. We've also got a little mention about the man himself, St Valentine. So we're going to join three couples who are going to tell us their story, and whether you've received a big bunch of flowers, masses of red hearts, or a lovely big card, or a box of chocolates, or not. Today's episode of HCPTV is a love letter, a message of love, a message of kindness from us at HCPT to you, wherever you are around the world. So let's first go and visit Ollie and Jodie, who are from Group 13, based in Witham in Essex. And they're going to talk to us about how they first met and how much going back to Lourdes keeps them together. They're also going to introduce us to their daughter, Emma.
Hi, I'm Ollie.
I'm Jodie, and this is Emma.
And we travelled to Lourdes with Group 13.
My first year that I travelled, when I met Ollie, was in 2012. We met on the bus going from a school in North London to Gatwick Airport. I was recruited quite last minute because the nurse of the group had to drop out, and I actually thought I was going to Wales until about 3 weeks beforehand, which is quite a surprise. Do you want to talk about you going to Wales?
I started going to Lourdes in 2007, or at least that's the first time I knew that I'd gone to Lourdes was 2007. I was first taken before the age of 1 in 1990 when my parents took me to Lourdes, and the reason that I chose to go to Lourdes in 2007 it was because it was offered by my school for a sixth form trip, and my parents, Lourdes has been an important part of their life, and they'd actually met each other in Lourdes, and so I wanted to go as well.
I think I found love in Lourdes because it takes a very special person to travel to Lourdes, and it's just a very special place.
And I think I found love in Lourdes because Lourdes always brings out the best in people, so I got to see the absolute best side of Jodie.
One of our most memorable moments was bringing this little munchkin in 2019 and lighting her first candle in the grotto. Yeah. And it's very special for us to go back, and we have really missed it last year, and we will miss it this year because it's a very emotional place and it brings back lots of lovely memories.
And we always find that our trip to Lourdes every year brings us closer together.
Bye.
Thanks there to Ollie, Jodie, and of course Emma for sharing your story with us today. As you can see, I'm outside and it's really cold, but all of our messages and our theme today hopefully will bring a warm glow to you in your hearts wherever you are. Now we're going to go to Kimberly and Kenny, who are going to tell us how they first met when they travelled to Lourdes in 1999 with Group 77 from Fife, and find out why Lourdes and HCPT is still so important to them over 20 years later.
Hi, I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kimberly. We met in Lourdes in 1999 when we went with Group 77 in Fife.
We first met at school briefly, but we became good friends on the bus on the way to the airport with Kimberly and my absolute love and obsession with Star Wars.
And he learned how crazy I was.
Some things never change.
HCPT, we were brought into by both being put forward by our school, St Andrew's High School, which was, in my eyes, the best thing that school has ever done for me. I was, apart from my own family, I was part of nothing, I felt, and I was part of a second family. And I'm still part of that second family with HCPT, both Group 77 and the entire organisation.
We were friends for 16 years before we decided to turn it into a relationship. We've been together 6 years this month.
and we intend to get married 2 days prior to the 23rd anniversary of us going to Lourdes, which is a really special date for us. As part of our wedding, we hope to include HCPT and Lourdes in as much as possible ways, including using the star chart from the night we first arrived in Lourdes.
With HCPT, I don't know if we would have became friends and been together the way we have for this 23 years nearly.
As part of our family, HCPT also gave us the opportunity to have our own little family.
This is Scarlett, our youngest daughter.
Our youngest daughter, and we have another daughter called Ava Marie. We owe a lot to HCPT, and HCPT definitely did give us the love we have for each other, and the friendship that's lasted and hopefully will last a lifetime.
Yep.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Kimberly and Kenny. Great to see you and hear your story. Well, of course, before we go any further, it would be wrong of us not to hear about the man himself, St Valentine. So we called on our good friend Mary Palmer to give us the lowdown on who he was and what he did and why he's so important in our world today. So over to you, Mary.
There are actually dozens of St Valentines, but the main guy for today is St Valentine of Rome, and even some of his stories can be attributed to two different men. Legend has it that while facing persecution for his faith, Valentine restored the vision of the judge's blind daughter and converted the whole family to Christianity. Other legends say that he was actually a priest who secretly helped Christian couples to get married in persecuted Rome. And another legend says that whilst in jail, he wrote a letter to the jailer's daughter, signed, "Your Valentine." However, it is largely accepted that he was martyred for his faith, and he is now the patron saint of love, lovers, engagement, marriage, obviously, beekeepers, epilepsy, plague, and travelling. It might be over-commercialised, but it's a reminder to tell our friends and family and those we love that we love them.
Thanks, Mary. Who knew all you could learn in 44 seconds? I bet there are teachers out there that thought every history lesson could be as good in 44 seconds, so thanks for that. Now for our last couple, we're going to go to Jane from Group 180 in Widnes and James from Group 160 in Sheffield. And they're going to tell us about their very many varied pilgrimages to Lourdes, together and apart before they met, and how they found love and when they first met on a group leaders renewal weekend some years ago at Hosanna House. James and Jane.
Hi, I'm James and I lead Sheffield Group 160.
And I'm Jane, I lead Widnes Group 180 Merseyside. And this is our story. I first went to Lourdes in 1977 with our local church, camping, and then I was invited to go to look after a young man within the trust, and he had profound and multiple learning difficulties. His only form of communication was facial expressions and eye pointing. Hardest week of my life, travelling overland 27 hours, but the best week ever. And I cried for a week when I came home. And then I started my own group in 86, first travelling in 87. And I've been fortunate to take both my girls at 12 and 10 weeks old after having C-sections, travelling overland. They're both now 33 and 28 and very much part of Group 180.
My story is nowhere near as meaningful or grand as Jane. I got involved with HCPT in 1996 by pure accident. Some friends were running the Sheffield group and they had a helper drop out at short notice, and they asked me would I take their place. And I can remember saying, it's not really my thing. I don't think I could do this. Anyway, I decided, only 1 week, 1 year, I'd go along and help out. And I have to say, I had the best week of my life ever. And this leads me on to the next question, one of my fondest memories, and it was of that first year. I looked after a lad who had severe movement difficulties. He spent a lot of time in a wheelchair. And it got towards the end of the week and I asked him, how's the week been for him? And he looked me straight in the face and he said, this is the best week of my life ever. And I looked at him rather quizzically, thinking, do you really mean the best week ever? And he stopped and he said, no one stared at me this week. It's the first time in my life no one has stared at me. We've just done everything as a group and there's been no limits to what I can do. So that sort of stuck with me, and I've more or less gone every year since.
And that takes us to what Michael Strode wanted. Brother Michael wanted the children and the young people to stay in hotels, not in hospitals. And thankfully, with the help of the Trust, that's what we all do, and the children have a fantastic time, as do the helpers. Some of my best memories are when I took Martin, I couldn't take him into the baths. So Brother Pat, who was training to be a priest, took him in. I think the whole of Lourdes town heard the unmerciful screams from Martin because the water was so cold. And for years later, if you'd asked him, his lip would go. Both my girls have made the Holy Communions in Lourdes, which has been wonderful. And my mum and dad came for many, many years, as did aunts, uncles, cousins. I've got lots of lovely family memories. But for us, we were fortunate to have met each other on a renewal weekend, and we got married, and we travelled to Lourdes. James has travelled with my group a couple of times now, because Lourdes is all about being together, being a family, accepting people for who they are, seeing beyond that disability. The highlight for me is the torchlight procession and the candles. I just love it.
I just add a little bit more how we met before we run out of time. We met on a group leader renewal weekend about 7-8 years ago, and we met through some mutual friends who run the Doncaster group 101, Margaret and Phil. I know they introduced us, and we keep chatting every so often, and then
on Facebook.
And then 4 years later, we were at Manchester Airport waiting because my group was on the same flight, a couple of seats behind James, and we're just chatting, and I said, I'll be up your way in a little while, do you fancy meeting up? And for some reason Jane agreed, and we actually ended up getting married 2 years ago. So that's how we found love in Lourdes.
And James is known as my lovely James because whenever we met and we always said hi, and as we all do in Lourdes, we all have a hug, my group would say, who's that? And he's like, oh, it's James, he's lovely. So he's now known as my lovely James. So
I'm going to be slightly embarrassed, but the best thing for me is all the things in Lourdes, but also having met James would be the best thing for me. I suppose I've got to say that, otherwise I'm going to get battered.
No, he's not. But Lourdes and HCPT is a massive part of our family life, isn't it?
Well, that's it for today, and thanks to everyone who contributed towards this latest edition of HCPTV on the theme of love and St Valentine. Last week we celebrated our first International Day of Prayer for HCPT, and what a great day it was. And if you missed any of that, you can go onto our Facebook page or our YouTube channel and find all the episodes that we did throughout the day ready there for you to watch again. We're going to be getting ready for the season of Lent very soon, and we're going to be reaching out to people to join us with their ideas and their films and their stories, so that we can share even more widely with the HCPT family all around the world. So from us to you, happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you all soon. May God bless us all. Goodbye.